What are you know we're recording, right?
I know.
Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to the Game Disc Podcast, where every week we laugh like maniacs for no reason. But we also discuss a specific video game, brand new, retro, or anything in between, and figure out if it's worth putting on our top 100 games of all time. I am your host, Simon Esty, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Noah Esty.
Are you good?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. It's a good thing you're good, because today we are talking about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Is Call of Duty the luckiest franchise in the industry, or is there a reason it's the best-selling game every year? We will figure all of that out, but first, Noah, what's going on? What happened?
So, for those of you who don't, obviously for our listeners, we always start our podcast with our intro music, and so what happened was we were about to start, so I was like, all right, let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to start recording, so let's stay quiet. And I immediately thought that would be really funny if I just started talking during the intro. And I wasn't going to do that, but I just started laughing because I was like, man, that would be so funny. And obviously by that point, there's just nothing that I could do. So that was why I was laughing so much, because I was like, man, that'd be so funny if I
What a good
talking.
prank.
Yeah, it was a great prank.
Well, so it plays like the software we use plays like a countdown. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it starts. And I don't know if it picks up our voice during those 5 seconds, but so you're like babbling and talking, and it's doing the countdown. And so I say, stop talking. And I'm curious if that's on it. Like if when I go to listen to this later, if that's going to be on it. And now I have a dilemma, because if it is, I don't know if I should keep it or not.
Yeah, well,
I think I probably will. I'll probably keep it, especially after this whole debacle.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to think about. I was like, well, Simon's got to have a choice now. He's going to see, is this going to be a professional podcast, or is this going to be a fun podcast?
As you're laughing, I'm like, should I pause it? Or should I just run with it? And I was like, you know what? We're just going to run with it.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes.
That's revenge from a couple weeks back. I was like, hey, are you done recording? And you said, no, not yet. I'm going to keep this in the podcast, though. So that's my revenge for you. You can embarrass me during the ending. I'll just embarrass you during the intro.
Well, speaking of revenge, I'm mad at you because so you weren't on last week's, but the week before, where you decided to spend, I think the podcast was like an hour and a half, and you spent an hour and 20 minutes talking about Alan Wake. Yeah. I had the perfect feel-good story in that I talked about our smell-good story with the Metal Gear cologne, and then I had to go let my dog out, and I come back, and I didn't really know what was going on, but then I listened to it later, and you had brought up Alan Wake 2 releasing as the feel-good story.
13 years! Come on! 13 years they've been wanting to make this game.
No. I shouldn't have said anything. We're not talking about Alan Wake. We've done it enough. We've got other stuff we've got to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Like American Nightmare. So it was this sweet downloadable game on the Xbox Arcade.
There was a big week for news. It was actually a really big week for news. There was a lot that happened this week.
Oh, real quick.
If it's about Alan Wake, I'm gonna just keep going into the news.
Okay. No, but in actuality, Simon, how are you doing today?
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I was doing good until I clicked the record button.
I know.
No, it's I'm doing pretty well, I think. Yeah, my fiance's she's now a flight attendant, so that's just been like a lot of driving back and forth from the airport, a lot of her not knowing where she's going to be sleeping, which then I feel guilty about sleeping in our nice home. So that's been but I mean it's tough, but I know it's tougher for her, but she's had some cool experiences already, so it's people have kind of asked like, oh, how's she liking it? I'm like, it is like the highest highs of any job you can have, and also the lowest lows. Like she literally slept in our car.
Damn.
But then she also got to spend 48 hours in Hawaii.
Hmm.
So it's like it is really just all over the place. But overall I'm doing pretty good. I'm like on the cusp of like finishing a lot of things.
Hmm.
Cocoon, Andor, and Attack on Titan. So I'm just like, ooh, I'm gonna be feeling pretty good tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's great. I just platinumed Alan Wake 2, which is
Anyway,
awesome.
so Valve, I knew you were gonna do that too.
Any
I thought
other
about.
franchise, you would have listened, but nope.
No, well, we
All
can.
right, but
I tell you
no.
what. Tell you what. If you can go through this whole episode without talking about Alan Wake, when we talk about what we've been playing, you can. I will. We'll have you actually give like some pretty good thoughts since you've wrapped up the game and stuff. And I actually haven't talked
Oh,
to you about the game, so
oh,
we'll do that. Okay.
so if I can hold my opinion for the entire opinion podcast, I get to share my opinion at the end.
If you can hold your opinion about something that we're not talking about, then yeah, you can share your opinion about something we're not talking
All
about
right,
at the
all right,
end.
all right. No, well, all right, all right. Jokey mode is over.
Yeah,
We do
yeah,
gotta
sure,
talk.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
come on,
Jokey mode is
Simon. We
over.
we gotta we gotta gotta get back on schedule.
Okay. Sorry for keeping us off task. I'll
It's
be
okay.
better
Just don't
about
do it
that.
again.
Yeah, I'll keep my opinions to myself on this
Okay. All
opinion
right.
podcast. All
That
right,
you run.
Valve. Yeah, Valve announced a Steam Deck OLED. This kind of came out of nowhere. I just went
Hmm.
onto IGN and it was like Steam Deck OLED announced, Steam Deck OLED review. I was like, what the
Hmm.
hell?
Yeah.
So it starts at $550 for 500 gigabytes. I believe the 1 terabyte version is 650. This does have an OLED screen, but everything else, as far as like specs, is identical. But there are some improvements. One of them being a better battery. Because OLED screens are like actually thinner screens, they were able to
Hmm.
fit a larger battery in there.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, they're able to use a smaller bezel. So not only is the OLED screen OLED, so it looks a lot better, but it's also the same size type of screen, but a bigger actual screen, if that makes sense. Just like the
Hmm.
OLED Switch has like an actual
Yeah.
bigger screen. And then because it's a little bit more efficient, it runs cooler. But again, the performance is the same. So this is really cool. I've kind of been interested in the Steam Deck since it was announced,
Hmm.
but I was always kind of waiting for a revision because I, heard about the bad battery and the the original LCD screen. So this is kind of like, this is everything I want. And I'm like, man, I don't know. What about you? Do you have any interest in the Steam Deck? And if not, is
Yeah.
this kind of like
Abs
pushing you towards one or?
Absolutely. I've always had an interest in the Steam Deck. I know people that have it. They absolutely love it. So for that reason, I'm not a big PC gamer, but you don't really need to be one with a Steam Deck. You obviously need a
Yeah.
Steam account to play your favorite games. But that's what I've heard. I've heard people are like, yeah, it's just really nice to have. It's essentially like a Nintendo Switch, but the games look a lot nicer on it.
Yeah,
And
it
of
is. It
course,
is a more powerful Switch
yeah,
and
and
cheaper
you can
games.
play Sony games on it as well,
Yeah, that's true. You
which
can play God of War Ragnarok on the Steam Deck.
hmm. Well, actually, I don't think you can play God of War
Or not
Ragnarok
God of War. I'm
yet.
thinking of God of War 2018. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
that
right.
one, because yeah, I have a friend who wants to play it, but he doesn't have a PS5, so he's waiting on the
Actually,
PC version. But
you
yeah, so it's one
probably
of those things. What's that?
you probably could play Ragnarok on the Steam Deck.
You could, but that'd be a no-no game at that point.
Yeah, right.
So
That would be a no-no
that
game.
yeah, so we don't want to do that. We are not condoning the use of any
No,
unofficial ways to play a game.
no Jack Sparrows here.
Nope, none. But like I said, it's one of those things. I don't know if I'd get one just because money. I'd rather save that money for like a really good cheeseburger or something. But it's something that maybe once it gets a little cheaper, yeah, I'd consider it.
A really good cheeseburger.
Like, yeah, like maybe a quarter pounder or something.
I mean, I knew the yen was not doing great, but
No, it's just McDonald's is doing very well in Japan lately.
yeah, we keep selling out of our quarter pounders.
Yeah, you
Uh,
do.
All right. Well, if you
Fun
get tired
fact,
of
actually,
cheeseburgers, oh, go ahead.
Quarter Pounder not available in Japanese McDonald's.
Our Big Macs.
Yep.
Hmm.
And their menu actually, they have like a lot more seasonal menu items and such, which is really cool. But yeah, Quarter Pounder itself not available in Japan.
I don't find that terribly surprising. The quarter pounder
Neither
is
do
probably
I.
very unhealthy and probably actually doesn't meet health requirements in Japan.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about McDonald's. We are talking
No.
about video games. Anything else to say about the Steam Deck? Again, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. If somebody was like, "I'll give you $600, but you have to buy a Steam Deck with it," I'd be like, "Yeah, okay." But if somebody was
Hmm.
like, "I'll give you $100, but you have to buy a Steam Deck," I'd be like, "Well, I don't know."
I'd
Like,
probably do
I
that.
want
$100
one.
off a Steam Deck. Heck
That is
yeah.
true. It's just right there. I think for me, I'm really looking forward to a Switch 2. The Switch kind of has everything I need. I'm sure like there's been a couple times like I've wanted to play Chrono Trigger and a couple of other games that are on Steam but not on the Switch. So
Hmm.
and it is a more powerful system. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. It also depends on how the Switch 2 is. But if the Switch
Yeah.
2 has everything I need, I'm fine. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why
I.
Valve decided to kind of release this now. Maybe they do want to kind of steal some of the Switch 2's thunder since they know that's coming out, and that's going to be a tougher sell for the Steam Deck if the Switch 2 is just as powerful.
Yeah. I think maybe I'll get one during the next year. There's like a pretty light year in gaming. Obviously not this year, but maybe I'll get it the next time there's a lighter year in gaming, just because that might be a cool way to be like, hey, here's now a good chance for you to go on Steam, play a lot of the games of yesteryear that
Yeah,
maybe I didn't get the chance to, or maybe I just would like to re-experience again. I've been wanting to replay the original Deus Ex for a while now, so that'd be a cool game to play on a Steam Deck.
yeah. Nope. That's kind of how I feel too. So,
Hmm.
cool. The one game that you will not be able to play on the Steam Deck is The Legend
Hmm.
of Zelda. Um,
Yeah, because it's a
Shoot.
Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But Noah,
yeah.
thanks for saving me because The Legend
Hmm.
of
No
Zelda
problem.
is not a Nintendo game. It's a Nintendo movie. Because
Oh, snap!
Nintendo, you saved my ass. I was like, oh, I
I
don't know
was
where I'm going with this.
And I gathered that. I was like, I feel like you might be struggling a bit. Remember when we tried to be professional on this
I know this
podcast?
is yeah, it's falling apart. Anyway, Legend of Zelda movie announced. It's going to be live action, which is kind of a
Mhm.
surprise.
Yeah,
I think at least I was not
I think so
expecting a live
too. Yeah.
action. Um, Shigeru Miyamoto, little known Nintendo guy, and Avi Arad are producers. For those who don't know, Shigeru Miyamoto is everybody knows who's listening to this knows who Shigeru
Hmm.
Miyamoto is. Avi Arad is a big Sony guy. He helped make I think like Spider-Man 2, basically all of Sony's comic book movies he's been involved with,
Hmm.
good and bad. So I mean, he's got some great
Hmm.
credits to his name, like Across the Spider Verse. He's also got some stinkers like Morbius.
Don't say it. Fucking
I actually, what's interesting? A lot of people are kind of like crapping on Avi Arad, but I just watched Across the Spider Verse, and I guess making the villain in that movie, the Spot, was his idea,
huh.
and it's actually works out really well. So,
Yeah.
but back to the Legend of Zelda movie. Wes Ball is directing. Wes Ball
Hmm.
is pretty. He hasn't done a whole lot. He's mostly known for the trilogy of Maze Runner films, and he's also directing the upcoming Planet of the Apes movie,
Hmm.
which just got a trailer. So he's kind of an unknown quantity. I think he
Yeah.
might just be one of those directors who can kind of do what he's supposed to do, and
Hmm.
maybe that's what Nintendo wants. And finally, the
Yeah.
weirdest part of this story is that Sony Pictures Entertainment is distributing the film. So Sony and Nintendo are teaming up for a Legend of Zelda movie. Nintendo is handling a majority of the cost of the film, and then Sony is going to distribute the film worldwide. So, what do you think, Noah? You excited for a Legend of Zelda movie? Can't wait to see Chris Pratt in the green tunic.
Yeah, definitely. As we all know, Chris Pratt, he is Nintendo's go-to guy, so I'm really excited to see him as Link and, of course, Charlie Day as Tingle. But
That would actually
those,
okay, but that's not a bad idea.
yeah,
I
Charlie
heard
Day as Tingle,
I
that
heard
would be good.
actually a decent casting choice for this movie, and I'm curious. Dave Batista as Ganondorf.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I think he'd be really good as well. I think Dave Batista is so. There's been essentially three really big former WWE pro wrestlers turned actors. The Rock, obviously, John Cena, and Dave Bautista. I think Dave Bautista is like my favorite out of all of them. I think that The Rock is definitely the worst. Not necessarily out of acting experiences, but acting skills just because he knows what he is.
Yeah,
And
he's kind of just a vehicle for cool movies.
exactly. And I feel like John Cena and Dave Bautista, they Cena's probably the funniest. I think
Yeah,
that
I like
Cena
Cena.
and but I feel like Dave Bautista has a bit more range than Cena. Not saying Cena's a bad actor. The scene in Peacemaker where like he confronts his dad, that scene's great. But I feel like Dave Bautista just has a lot of range. He can perform like similar scenes like Drax and Guardians of the Galaxy, but I remember I really liked him in Glass Onion where I was like, God, this guy is so annoying. And I kind of realized like every time I like heard about Dave Bautista or something, I was like, oh, I don't like Dave Bautista. And I realized it was because I was thinking of his character in Glass Onion. So I was like, dang, he played that guy so well that I thought the actor himself was just kind of a jerk. So that's why I really like him. And yeah, he has a very good physique. He has a more unique physique, and I think that he'd be a very imposing Ganon.
Yeah. Nope. I don't agree, but kind of back to the movie. What do you? I was like, why are we talking about this? Kind of. So,
Yeah.
what do you?
Well,
I mean, are you excited about the movie, or is this going to be a
yeah.
pass? Like, what
And
are you? How are you
I'm
feeling about this?
excited and I'm surprised by its live action, but I think
Yeah.
that that is ultimately the best choice. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, they should make Legend of Zelda." And I was kind of like, if they make Legend of Zelda, like it's going to be kind of weird because are they going to make it kind of fun and whimsical like Mario? Because as much as I liked the Mario movie, I felt like it was they didn't really try to do anything unique or cool and
It is
original.
safe.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very safe movie, and I liked it, but it is safe. And so for that reason, I was like, how can you kind of do that with Legend of Zelda? It's a fantasy movie, so you could make it a like epic animated fantasy film, but I feel like that would be a much higher risk. So
Yeah.
I feel like live action
It might
probably
actually
the
be the
better.
safer one.
Yeah, I think it definitely is the safer one. Hope that it's not as safe as the Mario movie was because I feel like what their definition of safe would be for Zelda would be to kind of make it more generic. So I'm hoping that they make it a little brighter because Zelda can be bright. It's not always
Yeah.
dark
Well,
Twilight Princess
it's
and
malleable. I mean,
yeah.
even within the games itself, look at like the beginning of Ocarina of Time and the end. You
Hmm.
know, it's very
Yeah.
different. If you had to pick kind of one more question, and then we'll move on. If you had to pick one Zelda game to base this off of, what do you think it should be?
Um, Probably just Ocarina. I mean, Ocarina is
Really?
the easy answer. I feel like it's, like you said, it's the most malleable. They can do whatever they want. Maybe do the original just for a fun little fantasy film, but I would say Ocarina kind of established a lot in Zelda. So
The only reason I don't think Ocarina works as well as a film is because of the time jump. I think
that,
that's a lot to do in one film. I think that the one that makes the most sense is actually Link to the Past, because I think you've got a little bit more depth than like the OG Zelda game, so there's a little bit more plot to play around with. And then
hmm
at the same time, it isn't as like deep as Ocarina of Time or Wind
yeah,
Waker or Twilight Princess. And
that's a
then if you
good
want to do a
point.
sequel, you could do Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good point. As the one reason I was kind of thinking maybe not Ocarina is it'd be a lot of content. Like first you have to collect the three like gems,
Exactly.
and then you got to collect like the seven tokens. You got to go back at one point to change.
It's hard. It'd be hard to fit that without making massive cuts.
Yeah,
That was my thinking too. And it could
that
work as a
makes sense.
duology. Like if you did like Young Link as the first one, and then the movie ends with him, doing the second one. I could maybe see that working, but I don't know if you want to spend two movies just to tell one Zelda game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, they should do Majora's Mask, but break it off into several movies where he does a different side quest in every one.
That would be absurd. Actually, like if you wanted to do a Zelda trilogy, actually doing like Ocarina of Time 1, Ocarina of Time 2, and the Majora's Mask could maybe work,
Yeah,
but
but
then whatever kid you get to play Link will be like an adult in Majora's Mask just by age. It'd be weird.
yeah,
Um,
either that or he would just so much time would pass. They just be like, okay, um, Overwatch League is dead, is what I'm trying to
we
say.
could have. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
I
should
was
have.
like,
That's why you leave the segues to me.
I did a
Um,
good segue. You just said I helped you with the
you did.
segue,
You
and
did.
I got a pretty good one. But yeah, I gotta leave them to you unless I feel like you're
So
struggling.
you
Then you'll
wanna.
have to tag me in.
So I'm guessing you want to move. You want to move on from the Zelda movie.
Yeah, unless you have something else to say.
No, I mean, I think I said everything I
Yeah.
want to say. I'm excited for it. I think after kind of actually listening to your opinion, I think live action is kind of the way to go.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, if you do an Illumination animated movie, I don't know if Zelda works too well in kind of that minion style. So I think that Nintendo wants to do kind of a fantasy epic. And I think that
Mhm.
that's why they went with Sony. And hopefully it pans out for them.
Yeah,
Uh,
unfortunately, things don't always end out as you would hope they would, do they, Simon?
Nope, things don't always pan out, and you can ask Overwatch League about that. Overwatch League is officially dead. So there is a lot to talk about with this, but the league as it is gone. Blizzard has said that they're not, totally professional Overwatch will return in some form, but its current iteration is dead. And so kind of just I was talking with somebody about it and they said, well, how did this even like happen? Like what's going on? And it's actually like pretty complicated. So Overwatch League was it was a little too ambitious,
Mhm.
and its purpose was it wanted to very much be a like physical sports league in the
Mhm.
same vein as like the NBA and the NFL. What
Mhm.
does that include? It includes in-person sporting events.
Mhm.
Um, so that was kind of the way it was going to make the most money, basically.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, around the time the league launched, something called COVID happened,
Mhm.
which put a damper on any in-person leagues or in-person events. Couple that with the fact that Blizzard ignored Overwatch 1 for years, leading
Mhm.
to a huge drop off in players and kind of lack of interest from gamers in general. Then you've
Mhm.
got Overwatch 2, which a lot of people didn't like the switch to 5v5. And then again, they didn't like the monetization. They turned off a lot more people. It didn't catch on the way they thought it would,
Mhm.
leading to even less player interest. It kind of makes sense that this league just would not have taken off the way people expected. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, what do you think about this,
I
Noah? Are
mean,
you mourning the loss?
yeah, I mean, as you all know, I was a big Shanghai Dragons fan, so
The
it's
biggest.
depressing, but I mean, it's one of those things. It's a lot of people like to shit on esports. I think it is still kind of cool that they exist and people can make
Oh yeah, I think so
money by
too.
being really good at video games. With that being said, there were a lot of things about Overwatch League that was just a bit of a mess. I know a lot of people who do really like watching esports. A major criticism they had was Overwatch is a very complicated game and there's so much going on that it made having it be a spectator sport very difficult. So like, for example, fighting games. Both players are on the screen at the same time, very easy to see, everybody's seeing the same thing. And I believe also a lot of MOBAs are really good as well because you can kind of they have like a map there
You
where
can
you can
see
see
everything.
everything.
They're games that function well in terms of seeing like the scope of the playing field.
Hmm.
You know,
And yeah, and even something like Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, those games are so simple that it's also very easy to understand. You don't have to learn about roles, counters, stuff like that. It's just this is a gun. I'm doing really good with
well,
it.
and you can. It's sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah, you're good.
Like you said, in terms of simple, how do you win in like pretty much any physical sport? You have more points
Mm,
than the other team. How
yep.
do you win in Call of Duty or Counter Strike? You have more points than the other team, or first to
Hmm.
75 or whatever. How do you win in
Hmm.
Overwatch? Well, you have to get further than the opponent, unless it depends on the type of game. Then you have to hold on to more points. But then if you guys get to the same amount, then you go into overtime, which is like other sports. So then you have to see who could push it further again. But then when you're in overtime, your abilities charge a little bit faster, so it makes it a little more insane.
So
Makes sense that it wouldn't be as
the the
simple as
sim-
Call of Duty.
the simple way is, how do you win in basketball? You get the most points. How do you win in Call of Duty? You get the most points. How do you win in MMA? You
You get the most points
get
or knockout.
yeah. Actually, technically, you're right. The knockout does net you the most points. It even goes back to you get the most points. Fighting games, how do you win? Knockout, stuff like that. Overwatch, how do you win? Well, it depends.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think that's the big issue. I think that it is also really unfortunate that StarCraft 2 has a huge esports scene, and Blizzard, I think it's a little unfair for StarCraft players to see Blizzard put so much stock into this Overwatch League when your community has been thriving for so long and Blizzard really doesn't care about you. And that's something that I think is the most unfortunate part about all of this. It's the fact that
Yeah, they have a
Blizzard,
prime esports franchise ready to go, and they haven't been focusing on it because they don't have StarCraft, because StarCraft 3 isn't out.
no, and I think that's the most unfortunate part about the whole Overwatch League. But
Yeah. And obviously I feel bad for, people who, obviously these teams, this was these people's living. This is how they made money,
yeah,
and they were clearly
if
very good at it. So
if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, the biggest streamer right now, XQC, got his start on Overwatch League. So
you would know more about that than I do. All I know is that XQC has a G Fuel flavor.
yeah, and but yeah, I believe that's where he got his start. So hopefully a lot of these players can at least make a decent career in streaming.
Yeah. Um, hey Noah,
Yeah.
if I had a G Fuel flavor, what would it be?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if you're setting up for a bit, so I'm just gonna
Um,
say no. What a fun bit that was.
yeah, thanks for that.
Hey
Okay.
Noah, what? Okay. How about you would be liquid raspberry?
Okay.
What would my flavor be?
Yours would be yours would be something like sour. Yours would be
Oh,
I think yours would be
I was
like oh
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I was gonna say denim daydreams.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, like denim, like jeans.
Your G Fuel would taste like jeans.
Well, that mixed with like the fantasy of just like a daydream, you know?
Okay. No, I think yours would be like sour, like strawberry or something.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that makes sense. Or when I play fighting games, my flavor would be saltwater taffy because I'm so salty.
oh, actually,
Huh?
no, you're
Huh?
right. That's a good one. Saltwater taffy would be your flavor. That's a good one.
Yeah, okay.
Um, you know what else is going to be a good one?
What?
GTA 6 when it eventually comes
Oh!
out. Uh, and we still don't know when it's coming out, but we do know that it will be revealed early next month. This was according to Rockstar themselves. They said, uh, yeah, GTA is going to be revealed early next month. Hey, no, you know what's early next month?
What?
The Video Game Awards.
Oh.
So I'm not saying that's where it's going to happen, but do you think they show up there?
Hey,
It's December 7th. That's pretty early in the month. We know it's
yeah.
coming early in the month. Makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
well, a lot of games get announced during the Game Awards. I remember a couple years back, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 got announced during the Game Awards, and yeah, not surprised if it gets announced there.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to announce it. I mean, not a whole lot to be said about this because we literally all we have is an announcement,
Yeah.
but it's cool that at least,
It's an announcement for an
yeah.
announcement.
But it's kind of funny because I know people on Reddit have been going insane. Like they thought October 26th was like a really
Oh,
important day
yeah,
for
I
some
heard
reason.
about that.
I don't know why. It's like all the like the abandoned stuff about how abandoned was like Silent Hill or whatever.
Well, it is.
Sure. Um, that was like the level of like craziness that GTA fans have been in for
Yeah,
the last
and
like year, maybe longer.
and that's the another thing too is I know you aren't on the internet or involved in meme culture as well. But there's an old meme and it was Illuminati confirmed. And what it was you pretty much just took a random thing and made the most random connections to everything until eventually you got to the point of three, and then you'd say three, and what has three sides? The triangle, Illuminati confirmed. That's essentially what a lot of people were doing for the GTA 6
GTA.
reveal, and to a lesser extent, Abandoned as well. It's just
Yeah,
you take the most random details and think, okay, how can I connect this to
the
what
Illuminati
I
or
want?
whatever. Yeah, no,
Hmm
that's pretty funny. You gonna play GTA 6 when it comes out though?
If it's good,
Yep. I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
sure. I'm sure. I think it'd be
yeah,
pretty
a
good.
lot of people are like, GTA 6 is probably going to be bad because Rockstar's going to monetize the crap out of it.
No, I
I
could see
feel
that.
like, yeah, I feel like what Rockstar has been doing though is they make a really good single player campaign and then they monetize the crap out of multiplayer.
Yeah,
So,
I think, and that's what I think. I think that they're not. GTA 5 made a ton of money.
mhm,
Why? You're not gonna fix what's not broken.
yeah. And I think that I'm honestly, it's always disappointing when a company nickels and dimes you, but by the end of the day, I don't think that's a bad idea. If it's like you have this single player, the single player is going to be really good, it's going to be really fun, and there's a multiplayer that will nickel and dime you, but if you want to, you'll get your money's worth just from the single player. And I think that's the important thing is, will I get my money's worth? It's like if you just play the single player, yes, instead of a game like Call of Duty where it's like, will I get my money's worth if I just play the single player? Not
Nah,
really.
yeah, you've got to play around with at least zombies or multiplayer or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I'm sure the game will be good. I'm sure it'll make a lot of money. Another company that is making a lot of money is Nintendo,
hmm
and they told us exactly how much money they were making with their financial report for the quarter, which ended, I think, September 30th.
hmm
So we're not going to go through everything, but a couple of kind of interesting things. So they made 334.9 billion yen, which is about $2.2 billion
hmm
in revenue. When originally they only expected 317 billion yen, and then they made a profit of 90.3 billion yen when they expected 75.7 billion yen. So
hmm
Nintendo doing decently. They had some, they exceeded their forecasts, which for business is always good.
hmm
Unfortunately, their profits are down a little bit. Their profits are down 19% year over year, with revenue
hmm
down 4%. So not quite making as much money as they wanted to last year.
hmm
But one thing that is very surprising is that Switch sales have actually gone up by 2.4% from last year, year over year.
hmm
Um, Couple of final tidbits about it. Tears of the Kingdom has sold 19.5 million units since launch. Super
hmm
Mario Wonder has sold 4.3 million copies in the 2 weeks between when it came out and the financial report. And Pikmin 4 has sold 2.5 million units, which is more than every other Pikmin combined.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, cool for Nintendo. I'm
hmm
surprised the Switch has sold more than last year. I guess Japan, for some reason, has been jumping on the Switch again. They specifically said that, um, which is surprising because I feel like, obviously the Switch sales have been slowing down. It's a console in its
hmm
seventh year. We
hmm
know a new one's coming. And that was kind of another thing they said during their financial
hmm
report is that they've said the reports about a new Switch are inaccurate, which inaccurate could mean a lot of things. Like, they didn't say no, that's false. They said it's inaccurate. So it could be,
Inaccurate.
yeah, I mean, they could have picked anything and said, well, it's not exactly true.
hmm
So yeah, what do you kind of think of all that Nintendo stuff?
I mean, I think that regarding the Switch sales increasing, something that we really don't think about as gamers is the casuals, more specifically kids. I think that Switch sales, this is part of the reason Switch done so well. I think part of the reason is kids are like, they're young, and because the Switch has been around for a long time, they're like, oh, after a certain point, they want to Switch. And I think maybe parents whom not necessarily are gamers, but they're like, oh, well, I grew up with like a Nintendo 64. Then I remember like the GameCube came out, or like I grew up with the SNES, then the N64. They're like, we're not gonna buy our kid a Switch because I'm sure Switch 2 will come out soon and they'll want that. But maybe because it's been a while, they're like, oh well, maybe we'll just get them a Switch because they've been wanting it. So maybe that's a reason why Switch sales are kind of increasing, because like kids now are getting really want it, and parents were like, well, maybe we'll just wait till a new one comes because then we know they're going to want that one. But now they're like, yeah, we'll just get it. But I think the really interesting part is Pikmin, because something that we've been seeing now is a lot of Switch releases for games have been the most sold version.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what Nintendo franchise has the most sold like version of a Nintendo franchise not been on the Switch?
Um, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, like
Maybe Metroid Prime may have outsold Dread. I
maybe, but I thought Dread outsold like every other Metroid game.
maybe you're right. Yeah, actually, yeah, I think you are right. No, I
Hmm.
think pretty much every Nintendo franchise, like Mario Kart. I mean, yeah, like Mario Kart, Smash Bros, and Animal Crossing have all sold like an absurd amount. Breath of the Wild, I think, and I think they said that like Mario Wonder was like the fastest selling Nintendo game. Or something. No,
Hmm.
that can't be true. I don't know, but maybe Kirby, but I don't know. I would be willing to bet most.
And
I
just
mean,
heads up, Metroid Prime sold 2.8 million units, Dread sold 3 million.
okay, cool. Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah, so I think you're right. I think pretty much every Nintendo franchise has sold more on the Switch than any other Nintendo
any other?
console, which makes sense because
Yeah.
with the exception, I mean, maybe like Fire Emblem Awakening sold better, but even then, I don't think so.
No,
Um,
I don't think so as well. I'm pretty
Three
sure
Houses,
that
yeah, yeah, no, I
yeah.
really, I can't think of any. And the Pikmin thing is kind of funny. They specifically said it was like they felt it was due to like nostalgia from like the original Pikmin commercial or something, because they also came out with Pikmin 1 and 2 pretty close to the release date for Pikmin 4.
Hmm.
So they were like, oh, people in Japan loved the Pikmin 1 song, which is kind of funny. Um, but yeah, so I mean, good for Pikmin. I really liked Pikmin 4. This was kind of my first Pikmin game. I played a little bit of 3 and a little bit of 1 when I was a kid. Not 3 as a kid. I played 3 a little bit ago and I liked it. But 4, I really liked 4. So I'm glad that it's,
Yeah.
doing pretty well. I'm glad the Switch is doing well. I'm glad Nintendo's doing well. I just hope they
Yeah.
don't botch it at the end.
No, because that's a major problem with a lot of game companies. They start doing really, really well, then they're like, well, because we're doing so well, we can get a little greedy,
Sony
and that's when a lot of the problems happen.
raising PlayStation Plus 20% or whatever
Yep.
stupid number. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Anything else to say about Nintendo's financial report, or you good? You got it all.
Nope, not really.
Cool. Well, then I guess let's just get into our feel good story of the week.
Hmm.
So, for those who don't know, Gene Park is a Washington Post games journalist. He does really good work. I've kind of just seen his name pop up in there. I'd say he's like, nobody's Jason Schreier, but I
Hmm.
can't really think of many people bigger than Gene Park. And he had cancer, and then I think he beat it, and then he was
Hmm.
unfortunately it came back, but he has once again beaten it, and Gene Park is now cancer free, which
Hmm.
is great. Like I said, he's just everything I've like
I
read of his
I'm gonna
work.
I'm gonna say a bold hot take right here. Fuck cancer.
Yeah,
I'm going to go on the record and say that.
it's there you go. It's on the record.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure Gene Park feels the same way. So
Yeah.
congrats to him and his family, and I'm glad that he's gets to that he was able to get rid of it again, and that he's
Hmm.
we all get to kind of see more of his work. Um,
Yeah. And
so not a whole lot to say about that. Just
no. He he had lung cancer. He
oh, thanks for
said
more
that
details,
he's
Noah.
oh yeah, no problem. He had lung cancer. He talked about it a bit. He used to be a cigarette smoker, but he quit, I think he said about 3 years ago, and he started vaping, but he quit that last year, and he even said that his doctor told him that he didn't want to, his doctor told him that if he wanted to continue smoking marijuana, that was okay, but He, however, felt that he
That's the
didn't
kind
want
of
to deal
doctor
with
you
any.
want.
Yeah, well, and it's like he still felt like it is still smoking something, so he decided to switch to edibles instead, which it's great that he is being conscious about it, and of course, being a two-time cancer survivor is now like, okay, how can I minimize this? So yeah, it's obviously great. Really happy. Anytime anybody is able to beat cancer, it's always a good story.
It's always a feel good story. That's why we talked about it as
Exactly.
our feel good story of the week. Thanks for the
Hmm.
additional info, Noah. That was a
Yeah, no
lot better
problem.
than my rambling where I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
okay. So you ready to get into our topic, or do you want to take a break, or where do
Yes,
you want to
I
go?
am.
Oh, you're just ready to go.
Um, hey, let's go ahead and let's just jump into it, but really take a break. And then
Uh,
the audience will have
do you
no
want
idea
me?
of no.
I get it. I don't know what to do. Do you want me to click the stop button?
I'm okay with just continuing.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I understood what you were saying. I was like, I can't tell if he's saying this as a joke or if he actually wants you to click the stop record button.
I don't
Uh,
know, but the audience is never going to know.
yeah, we'll just stop talking for it. And we're back. Um, all right, let's just get into it. Today's topic is Call of Duty for Modern Warfare. As per usual, Noah, what do you like about the game? What do you not like about the game? Who would you recommend it to? Spoiler free, very quickly, very briefly, go.
What I like, it's fun.
Couldn't
What I
say.
don't like, it's simple. Who'd I recommend it to? People who like a more casual, like gaming experience, not one that, not to say it's a casual game, but I guess just a more familiar, relaxed game. It's Call of Duty. Like that's the best way to break it down. What do I think about the game? It's Call of Duty.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what I like, it feels good. Very few, I mean, very few games feel as good to play as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4.
Hmm.
In fact, I would go as far as saying very few shooters feel as good. With the exception of Titanfall, which is made by a lot of the same people. I
Hmm.
don't know if any game feels as good to play as Call of Duty.
Yeah.
What I don't like, the campaign was very short, or it
Hmm.
is very short. It's 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Who would I recommend it to? Really, anybody who likes shooters. And with that, we're now going to go into full spoiler territory. So if for whatever reason you don't want to know what happens in Call of Duty for Modern Warfare, we'll see you next week. But for everybody else, we're just going to get right into it. Which actually, like, this game has kind of a cool campaign.
Hmm.
Your character does. I'm just going to jump right into spoilers. Your character
Yeah.
dies like halfway through, right? Because he
Yeah.
gets nuked. He's literally gets like
Yeah.
nuked.
Yeah. And
Uh, oh, go
of
ahead.
course, there are two protagonists in the game.
Yeah,
And
because you play as like two different factions.
yeah, if I remember correctly, you play as a member of the UK Special Forces and then the US Marines.
Yeah, it's like
And
SAS and Rangers, I think, or something like that.
yeah,
I'm
I
actually
believe
pretty
so.
confident about that. I just pulled that.
Yeah, well, because I was thinking like,
I think
because I
that's
was like,
right.
oh, yeah, I believe that's right. Because I was like, are the Spetsnaz? No, those are Russians. So
Yeah,
yeah, I believe you are right. The SAS is the United Kingdom Special Forces.
cool.
So
I know
yeah,
my militaries, I guess.
you do. What's the MP40?
Is that a gun?
Yeah, good job.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
uh,
yep, you are correct. The Special Air Service is a regiment of the British Army.
cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what's so I think this game is kind of like a little bit. I think this game does get honestly a little bit too much credit, though. Um, did I ever say something I don't like?
What you not really know. Oh,
Oops,
you said
sorry.
the campaign was a little
Oh,
short.
I did say that. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
I was just like thinking about that. Sorry. I think this game gets a little bit too much credit for Call of Duty, though. Like a lot of people are like,
Hmm.
oh, it is like, it put Call of Duty on the map,
Hmm.
and it did to an extent just because of how good it was. But like,
Hmm.
Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3 were both like really big games when they came out.
Mhm.
We've talked a little bit before about how in like previous generations, the first game would come out and it would be okay. And then the second game would come out and it would be amazing, like Assassin's
Mhm.
Creed, Batman Arkham,
Mhm.
things, Mass Effect, things like that. And I think that Call of Duty was one of those games that started off
Mhm.
really good and then it kind of just got better.
Yeah.
And then 4 is just the peak. Like 4 is just 4 games of just perfecting and just whittling away. And then on top of that, like this was like kind of the first modern shooter. Like
Oh,
most of
absolutely.
like everything, like, and it was a big deal. I remember like the E3 trailer when they announced it,
Mhm.
it was a pretty big deal, and the game came out and it was amazing and it just
Yeah.
blew up. Like people who don't play video games were playing this. Like people,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just to kind of give you an idea of how big this game was, when Modern Warfare 2 came out and I was in school,
Yeah.
I knew tons of people who don't really play video. I didn't really consider them like gamers. Like these were not people playing
Yeah.
BioShock and Assassin's Creed. These were normal people.
Yeah, normal
They
people.
yeah, not
They
weirdos like
had
us.
girlfriends.
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
normal they were.
Yeah, you say that as a joke, but and they just didn't come to school the day that game came out.
Yeah.
Like, and this wasn't
And
like, oh, there was like one kid. This was like a decent amount of people.
well,
Oh, go ahead.
I
No.
remember, yeah, like so I remember going to I was in middle school at the time, and of course, obviously, you played a game like Final Fantasy, Mass Effect, stuff like that. You were obviously a nerd, which, oh, thank God I didn't play Final Fantasy back then.
Yeah,
But I remember we
dodged a
had to do
bullet.
a presentation, and I can't remember what the theme of it was, but we got to choose maybe it was just present something that you're interested in. And I remember a kid who was like a cool kid. He did his Treyarch. And
Oh,
so the fact that
did you
a
tell him he was
kid
wrong that Infinity Ward's the good one?
no, because the fact that I probably
Knew
knew a
that.
good difference was enough to get me bullied. But you also got to think the thing about that, especially in middle school, Treyarch made zombies mode, and
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
that was why they were the good ones. And so
Kids are stupid.
they were, and they still are. I'm smart. I'm smarter than them.
Yeah,
But yeah,
debatable.
so regardless, and I think that's the interesting thing too. And going back to what you said about the modern aspect, I think it's really funny how when they announced Call of Duty World War II, a lot of people were like, "Oh, finally, we're going back to World War II." But during the time that the original Call of Duties pre-4 came out, X-Play from G4, they even had a segment that they would joke about anytime they reviewed a World War II shooter. So it's funny because all of our shooters are modern day, but back then they were all World War II. So having a modern day
And
one really was unique.
well, and it was more than unique, but like, yeah, you bring up a good point about X Play kind of making fun of World War II shooters. Modern Warfare One, Call of Duty 4. I was
Yeah.
in Modern Warfare 4.
Yeah.
It hit it,
There is
like,
no Modern Warfare 4.
yeah, yeah. There's just two trilogies.
Yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 2.
Yeah. Um, but I think that kind of something else that's interesting about the original Modern Warfare is it came out at the perfect time. Like,
Hmm.
you're right. That World War II fatigue was real, but people didn't really know what to do because it was like, well, World War II is easy because, the Nazis are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like that people were scared of like kind of, well, who do we make the bad guys here?
Yeah.
And so it is like, it was like untouched almost. And the fact that they not only were able to take these systems that they had been working on for now 3 games and implement it into a modern warfare game, but also switch this like genre that had become stale,
Hmm.
really just shows how great it was.
Yeah.
um and it's more to it than just, oh well, it was just slightly better than 3 and it was the first modern game. This game does a lot right too.
Hmm.
I mentioned briefly about how your character dies. This kind of became like, call like, a lot of people now is like, oh, Call of Duty is just the multiplayer, but when Modern Warfare 4 came out, that was a good campaign. Like,
Well, the thing that really got people talking about it wasn't the multiplayer, it was they did a gameplay for All Gillied Up,
Exactly.
which the
The
fact
E3
that
demo that they announced, it was all gillied up. You're right.
yeah, and the fact that the game has an iconic enough level to where you remember the name shows it must have been a pretty damn good level.
Well, yeah, and it was unlike another Modern Warfare that also has a level with a very iconic name. This one is iconic because it was fun to play.
Not controversial.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and you're right. Like I do remember quite a few levels,
Mhm,
from that game. And if I'm at any given time, like I could go play through Modern Warfare 1 again. Like it is just a
mhm,
great campaign.
mhm,
It is the same as like I think it's very similar to like the Mission Impossible movies.
mhm.
If they're not like these deep like thrillers or anything,
No.
but they are these movies that are just, they know exactly what they are and they nail
Mhm,
it. Like
mhm,
they nail the set pieces. And again, in the case of Call of Duty, they know exactly how it. They know it. Shooting things in that game scratches your brain in a way that few other games do. I love Halo.
mhm,
Halo's my favorite first-person shooter,
mhm.
and I think the shooting in Call of Duty 4 feels better.
Yeah, and I remember that was an era where then the Call of Duty clones obviously started jumping up, and playing a Call of Duty clone and then playing Call of Duty itself was just night and day. It was like, yeah, you can aim down your sights and there's realistic weapons, but the game just made shooting itself feel good.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of bring it up. A lot of games now do feel kind of similar to Call of Duty. When I talked, you kind of missed it, but last week I did talk about
Hmm.
Quantum Error, which was a game I was
Hmm.
playing for review.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started playing, the first level is like you're a military guy, and so you've got military weapons fighting terrorists.
Hmm.
And I was like, this game feels really bad, uh, which is weird because we figured out how to make these games in 2007 when Call of Duty 4 came out.
Yeah.
And like for the most part, if you're playing a first-person shooter now, they generally all feel pretty good because Call of
Hmm.
Duty just figured it out.
Yeah. And
Um, was there anything else you kind of want to say about the campaign?
um, not really. It was one like I don't remember the story at all, but I do remember a lot of iconic set pieces. Like I
Yeah.
remember the end. There's that mission where the dude just the ending of the game, or technically not the ending because there's like a little epilogue that's on the airplane, but the guy's just going up to your squad mates and just popping them in the head, and
Oh
then
yeah.
you pull out a handgun and you have to shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Things like that. Of
And the
course,
first
you
level
mentioned
on the boat.
yeah, and of course you mentioned the nuke when that goes off and your guy's like just kind of crawling, and then
Yeah, you're
eventually
literally
he
play
just
as someone who's
dies.
dying.
Yeah, and there were a lot of really iconic set pieces. And of course, as we mentioned, all gillied up, which the fact that no, like, I don't think any media really had a ghillie suit thing, the fact that this video game had one was like really cool and interesting, and that's why people started talking about this game just from the first trailer.
Yeah. And you're kind of right. Like, it's tough to talk about like the story. I couldn't
Hmm.
really tell you exactly the story except for terrorists want to blow things up and they are somewhat successful and
I'm
like
pretty sure Makarov is the bad guy.
well, and that's kind of the point I was getting to. I can name 3 characters from this game. I
Hmm.
could not name any character from any other Call of Duty. Makarov
I
is the
can name.
bad guy, Captain Price, and Ghost.
Well, Ghost is in two.
Wasn't Ghost in 1 too?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Simon Go. I know in the new games his name is Simon Ghost Riley.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm
That's a
pretty
good name.
yeah. Yeah, well, you get Simon, I get Noah.
From the
But and so yeah, I I believe Ghost was in two because I think what happened is
Oh, you're
Ghost
right.
was in
Ghost
two.
first appears as a main character in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Okay. I
Yeah,
guess I'm
because
wrong. I can only name
and
2
I think
characters.
yeah, so in two, I think he died, but everybody loved him. So I think when they remade the trilogy, they made him like a main character who's not dead because people really liked him. Which also, fun fact, apparently on TikTok, a bunch of like women were simping over Ghost. Which, fun fact
Huh.
for those of you who don't know. And so, yeah, it was Soap McTravish. Was he in 3 or was he
That's
in?
Soap, I think is who I'm thinking of. Soap
Yeah,
was
you
in the
probably
first
are.
one.
Yeah, and so Soap, I remember Ghost was in 2
Yeah, he's the guy you
and
play as.
in the first one.
Yeah,
Okay, and then I thought there was another guy named Yuri in 3, but
that
maybe I'm
sounds right.
mistaken. And I remember just the part where it's Soap trusted you, I did too. So why the bloody hell did Makarov know you? But yeah, anyway, regardless, I don't remember the plot, but I do remember random character names.
Nice. Which is,
Yeah.
I mean, which I think just kind of shows how well this game did. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
because you were just playing it and you were just having fun with it.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to go on to multiplayer?
Of course.
I mean, this game, if Halo 2 kind of created online console multiplayer, you know, more that this game,
Yeah.
this was like when you turn, this was like kind of the first big 360, or no, because they had Gears of War, which was 2006,
Mm-hmm.
but Gears of War was big. This
Mm-hmm.
was bigger. You just went onto your friends list
Yeah.
on Xbox Live, and it was just down the list Modern Warfare. And there's a reason for that. It again, you know, all the things we mentioned that the
Mm-hmm.
campaign did really well,
Mm-hmm.
multiplayer did just as well. You know, rewarding you for kill streaks, which I don't think had really been done. Like
No, I don't think so at all.
you were incentivized to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a game that was, you know, it was a team game, but and you were working towards other things, but you were also just, you know, everybody talked about their KD.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where it was like always nice when they're like a friendly helicopter inbound, or
Our
when you
UAV
were the
is
one to get
online.
the yeah, and or when you got the helicopter, then you felt like a god because not only were you good enough to get 7 kills, but then it would just come down, start raining bullets, and then it would be like, you got plus 150 points for
Yeah,
a kill,
exactly. Yeah,
and
no,
yeah,
it was, but it was also, yeah, you kind of bring up a good point. Like knowing that if things were going bad for your team, you know, if you were just able to do a couple of get a one good kill streak,
mhm,
that could kind of turn things around. But
yeah,
also, if things were going bad, you need to be more careful because it meant they were getting, you know, their
yeah,
UAV, they were getting their like missile
they're
strikes and their
yeah,
helicopters, and you really had to like, you know, like enemy UAV is online. Okay, I need to be a
hmm
little bit more careful because they're gonna know
yeah,
where I am.
hmm and I will say this: when after playing Modern Warfare 2, of course, greatly expanded the kill streaks. It did start to make Modern Warfare 1 feel limited in that regard, but it was still the fact that games really didn't do that. And I remember even after, I mean, I always liked playing around with kill streaks and such, but I remember when you played Modern Warfare 3, I think, you just used the Modern Warfare 1 kill streaks because you just liked them.
I've done that in like every Call of Duty
Yeah.
because I think that they got it right the first time. I don't need a nuke. Like I'm because
The nuke was cool.
the nuke is cool, but what is it? You have to get like 24 kills in a row. The thing,
25 kills and you
yeah,
automatically win the game, which logically does not make sense. It's like, hey, like winning this battle. What do we do? Let's kill everybody on the field.
yeah, exactly. Things are going well. What do you want to do? Let's not take any chances. Um,
Yeah. It
no,
should
but
be if you're losing, you can use the nuke and it turns it from a loss to a
yeah,
draw.
yeah, you get like 25 deaths in a row. um, that'd be a fun twist because then the other team has to be careful about killing you. So, but what I was gonna say is, I think those first row of kill streaks were perfect because it was like 3, 5, and 7, right? And
hmm
it was like 3, you're probably gonna get those most games.
Yeah.
5, you can maybe do that if you're really good too. 7 is like that was tough. It was something
Yeah.
to like work towards.
hmm
Um, and I think that that's why it was so perfect because it was just like anything more than 7, unless you were like really 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 good at the game,
hmm
was
You are FaZe
just
Clan.
Yeah, I guess. And like even like we talk about the nukes, if you're getting 25 kills in a row, you're probably winning by a decent amount anyway, unless your team is just garbage. Like,
Yeah.
so what's even the point?
Mhm.
Minus, I guess you finish up the game earlier.
Yeah.
But the first row of kill streaks, they were not only were they just like so fun and they all played differently, but they were also like, and they were, I think, the perfect like space of kills to get
Mhm.
to make them where they were
Yeah.
achievable but not
Mhm.
easy.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
did just cool things, like setting up the missile strike. You still had to kind of be good with them. In the case of like
Mhm.
yeah, missile strike, you had to, okay, where are my enemies? Okay, they're
Yeah.
here. They're moving this way. Let me try to get them.
Yeah. You gonna try to get at least 3 guys.
That was the goal,
And
right?
yeah. And then what were perks in this game, or was that introduced at a later game?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure perks were in 4.
Because I feel like they were, but I know a lot of people were really talking about perks regarding 2. I don't know if that was just because 2 was so much bigger
Yeah, there
that.
was. Yeah, there was perks, special grenades, bomb squad. Yeah, there was perks. Yeah,
Oh,
because you
okay.
could get like overkill, UAV jammer, juggernaut. Yeah, because juggernaut
Oh,
and
okay.
sleight of hand were like the good ones,
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
Yeah, I remember that. And then,
Yeah,
yeah,
there was
okay.
3
So,
tiers of perks. I mean, obviously it was much more minimal. There was only like
hmm
3 tiers of perks, but
yeah. But a
there were
lot of the
perks.
big ones, like sleight of hand, of course, or
Yeah, sleight of
uh,
hand,
was
juggernaut.
Marty Dom in it, or was that 2?
That was this one. Unlocked at level
Oh, yeah.
17.
Yeah, Marty Dom. So it seems like a lot of the major perks were actually in their start for Modern Warfare 1. Because,
Which
yeah,
again,
Mart.
I think shows just how much this game nailed it. They got the important stuff done the first
Yeah.
time. I mean, there's a reason why I think every I had Deep Impact. I had Deep Impact. I think every Call of Duty has kind of that's come out since 2007 when this one came
hmm
out has
hmm
just been kind of a reskin of this one,
Yeah.
because
I
you
mean,
can't build
yeah.
on it. There's a reason that Infinity Ward went and made Titanfall, because that's what you've got to do if you want to make this game
hmm
better.
You introduced giant mechs.
You got to, yeah, and jetpacks and stuff. Like, as far as I think there are so few games that have a specific goal that achieve it as well as this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only super iconic thing that that game is missing, besides, of course, customizable kill streaks, is the throwing knife.
Yeah, you're right. It didn't have the throwing knife, which,
Yeah.
okay, the throwing knife is cool in practice.
hmm
I don't know,
It,
just
it
shoot
was a
them.
flex weapon. That was
It was very
the
much a flex weapon.
it was a weapon that was, I'm good at this game. I'm better than you, so I'm just going to beat you using throwing knives.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's kind
hmm
of why. And again, all those things I think are just kind of fluff.
hmm
Like, yeah, it is like you said. The throwing knife is just a flex weapon. It does not improve the game at all.
Yeah,
The game is just as fine without it, and I think that's kind of my overall point about this discussion, is that
yeah.
there's nothing you could really add to this game because it's got everything you need. You can add better perks, but the ones that are in
hmm
there are the ones you need. You can add better kill streaks, but the ones that are in there are the ones you need. It's so perfectly balanced.
hmm
I mean, Infinity Ward, they were at the top of the class when they made
Yeah,
this game.
yeah, they really were. And the other iconic thing I can think of from Modern Warfare 2 is the heartbeat sensor, but I don't even think people really use that in multiplayer, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't
I
really
thought it
think
was just
so either.
there was the mission that it was introduced in was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this game really did a lot well for the first person shooters.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean,
No.
when you look at like later Call of Duties, it wasn't until the zombies got added. Was zombies in World at War?
Yes, it was World at War was
Okay.
the first
That
one.
was like, I mean, that's kind of really the only thing that's stuck, I think.
hmm
Which,
Yeah.
even I'm not a huge zombie fan. I think Modern Warfare 4 is just fine without it. I get that a lot of people like it. To me, though,
Yeah.
I'd rather just play Modern Warfare 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun game
It is
mode.
fun for a little
And
bit,
it's
but
a good change of pace.
yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, especially once they introduce like the deal, like the first map is pretty boring, but
Yeah, that's what I'm
even
thinking.
the DLC maps for World at War made it so
Really
much
better.
better. And what was the next Treyarch game after World at War? Was that Black Ops 1?
I
I
think
think
so.
so. Yeah. Then there was I think it was Noctu Unturton or Theater of the Damned.
Yeah,
That map was a good one, and
I that was when
that's
I
what I
first
think
started
of when
liking
I
it.
think of
But
zombies.
even then, like even so, when Call of Duty, when Modern Warfare 1 came out, I was a freshman
Hmm.
in high school, so I was, I mean, fairly young.
Yeah.
And World at War came out the next year, and I picked it up. So at this point, I would have been a sophomore, so I would
Hmm.
have been 15. And I
Yeah.
just remember playing it and being like, "This isn't as good." Like, it's not only is it not as good, but I kind of played this game last year. Like, it just
Hmm.
it's in like so few franchises
Hmm.
have the sequel feel worse.
Hmm.
Call of Duty 5 is worse than 4. And
Yeah.
and obviously it's made by a different studio. They were developed in parallel, so it kind of makes
Hmm.
sense, but that
Yeah.
didn't help its case. And looking back, I realized World at War is actually one of the better ones.
Hmm.
But I think it's one of the better ones because it's just so similar to base 4. Like,
Well, I remember something that was kind of funny was, if I'm not mistaken, the kill streaks in World at War were essentially the same as in 4, just with a World War II flair.
yeah,
So
like it was
the
just a
only
dude in a
the
helicopter with a camera for the UAV or whatever.
yeah, and I remember the funny one was, instead of a helicopter, it was attack dogs.
Oh, I do remember that one. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's stuff like that, which, yeah, really just made it interesting, or that was really kind of like, oh, that's interesting. But when I think of zombies, I think of Black Ops, which is why I probably think of zombies more fondly than you,
yeah,
because Black Ops was when it really got
yeah.
going.
And for me, like I love Call of Duty 4. I
Hmm.
didn't really play any of the other ones. To me, like I played a little bit of 2, and I played a little bit of Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare
Yeah.
3. But for me, it was very much like, at that point I had kind of moved on to other games, because every time I played
Yeah.
another Call of Duty, I was like, oh, I played this game two
Hmm.
years ago. I played this game 3 years ago, and it was better then. Like, it for me, I just always felt like they were always like chasing that same thrill as Modern Warfare 1, and they
Hmm.
just never quite got there.
No, just because it was so difficult to
And
get there.
it wasn't until like Titanfall 2 that I kind of felt the same way.
Yeah, it's a shame, but yeah,
I mean,
it is what
this
it
game
is,
is
and I
so
think,
oh, go ahead, no.
yeah, I think my personal opinion is the best way to play Call of Duties is to buy one, wait a couple years, and then play it again if you hear the new one's supposed to be really good, because
Yeah,
then
and
it
I
doesn't get you burnt
dabbled.
out.
Yeah, I did that a little bit, but even then, like, I played a couple, but I also think I jumped on at bad times. Like, I picked up Call of Duty
Yeah.
Ghosts because
Yeah.
that was like the one that came out when the PS4 launched.
Hmm.
Um, and the PS4 had a pretty weak launch. And again, it was just like, oh, this game is not as good as the game that came out, several years ago at that
Yeah.
point, five,
Hmm.
6 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and
Yeah.
then now here we are. I mean, this game is so good that Activision has released it every year for the past, what, 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah, and it feels like sometimes I'll pick up a newer Call of Duty and they'll make changes and I'll be like, oh, well, I kind of wish that they kept this. Like
Yeah,
in Modern Warfare 3, I don't know when they got rid of it, but in Modern Warfare 3, I noticed that, well, actually, it's been a while, because I think even in Black Ops like 3, they didn't have it, but there's no knife in the game. It's like, man, I kind of want them to bring the knife back.
yeah. Well, they still have the knife. It just, you have to do like 2 melees, right?
Um,
Isn't that what we
and
saw?
I thought that it was just like when you whack them with your gun, but
Maybe that's what it is.
maybe
Either
it takes two,
way,
but
there is still a
it's not the
melee.
instant knife that it
Yeah,
used to be, which was really fun.
yeah. No, I agree. But again, I think that you and I played the Modern Warfare 3 beta, and we both really
Hmm.
liked it.
Yeah.
But it was because we hadn't played Call of Duty in so long, and
Yeah,
it kind of
exactly.
is just the same game as 4.
Hmm. Just with
So
some changes that we would appreciate if it was more like 4.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm ready to wrap it up, is there anything else you want to say about it, or
No, I think we're about ready.
is this making it on the list?
I definitely do. I think it should make it on the
Oh fuck
list.
yeah! Okay,
Yeah.
for me, it's not even like a well, yeah, I think so. I'm like, let's
Yeah.
throw this son of a bitch at 25.
Okay. Um,
Or
so I
you're like,
think
well,
this is
hold on, slow down.
well,
I mean,
I
this
think
game's
this may be
great.
like I was going to say like I honestly have no idea because it's one of those things where it's like I'll be honest, talking about the game, I don't have as much experience with it as you do, so I don't remember it as much as you do, and oh, that's our fan.
Our
And
one fan.
so yeah, our one fan
For
that
those who don't know, that is actually Noah's like electronic fan that turns on. It speaks. It is a Japanese girl.
yeah, it's actually now that I think about it, it sounds more like a Japanese child,
Oh,
which
I
yeah,
don't like
it's like
that.
yeah, no, I hope I can that'd be cool if you could change the voice to have it be like a super gruff like man just be
Like
like,
JoJo's.
"Eh." Yeah, or be like, "Nee, doshita no?" Like something like that. That'd be really cool.
I hope you can.
But
Anyway, back to
yeah,
Call
me
of Duty.
too. Yeah. So that was the thing. My memory is it I remember 3 a lot more just because that was the one I really played a lot because of course, I was a nerd back in middle school, so I was like, Call of Duty sucks, same game every year. So I was like, I don't know where I want to put it. Like, it should be. So I'm thinking, yeah, like you were saying, like 25, right?
I think that this is one of the best games ever made.
Okay.
It's definitely
Um,
in the top 50, and maybe I'm a little because
biased.
it's maybe, but I don't. It is almost a perfect game in terms of what it sets out to do. It really, like I said, everybody was playing it. It was not even just like a it's like the only game I can even compare it to is like Animal Crossing, and even that needed a global pandemic. Whereas Call of Duty just 4 just did it because it was really good.
Yeah. How do you feel about like 30?
Fine, we'll put it at
Do you
30.
want it to put it at 25? We'll put it at
Uh,
25. Well, we can.
no, I've already started
I
typing it in 30. It's
okay.
okay.
How about 27? Let's do 27.
Nah, 30's fine.
You think 30?
I just wanted
Okay.
it in the top 25. Well, we can revisit it.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
see
once we
when we.
play like Soul Calibur, we'll see which game was better.
I've played Soul Calibur, and it's really
One.
good. Oh no, but isn't 2 the good one?
Two I believe is like was more like noteworthy. Two I believe was more popular, but one I believe is like
The good one.
not. I think it's kind of like this. Like two was only good because it expanded on the foundation set by one.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like Call of Duty.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, Call of Duty is on the list at number 30. I'm fine
Hmm.
with that.
All right.
Uh, it's a damn good video game, though. It's a
Yeah.
really good video game. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good. Maybe we'll put Titanfall 2 at 25. I'll feel better about that. I want to play through
What's
Titanfall 2 again.
Me too. Titanfall 2, I feel like is a game that I'm like, it wasn't that good, but then like when you play, you're like, God damn, this was a good game.
It's a damn good game.
Like, yeah, that campaign mode especially was phenomenal. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Uh,
as you were saying,
cool. Well, congrats to Call of Duty for
hmm
making it on the list. We are now, yeah, we're now starting to fill out this list.
hmm
Cool. Well, before we get out of here, no, what have you been playing? You did it. You didn't talk about Alan Wake. I thought that you were
yeah,
going to at 1 minute, and I
yeah,
don't know. Were you
I
like,
know,
were you messing with me, or
yeah,
was
I
that on
was.
accident? Okay.
That was when I mentioned the Space Marine 2 reveal.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep,
I was like, is he
the
gonna do it?
exact the exact same Game Awards that Space Marine 2 was announced, Alan Wake 2 was also announced.
All right. Well,
So
you did
yes,
it.
I was. That
So you
was.
platinum the game. Uh, spoiler free. I still haven't played it. I want to play it. What are it's sequel to your favorite game ever made 13 years later. You clearly liked it enough to platinum it.
Yeah,
How are you feeling about it? Are you happy with it, or was it disappointing? Yeah.
I would say I feel like it's probably a better game than 1, but I still liked 1 a little more.
That's fair. That's how I
just
feel about the
because,
Arkham games. I like Asylum better, even if I understand City is probably a better game.
yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I we talked about last time how when we talked about it in our Alan Wake episode, we mentioned how Alan's kind of like the weird guy, like, oh, I don't know if I can trust them, and Sheriff Breaker is more of a protagonist.
Yeah.
And so Saga and Alan are the two protagonists in this game, and it seems like they kind of Saga Anderson is kind of like Sheriff Breaker. It's like she's a more traditional protagonist, and it's kind of cool how they, in a sense, recreate the original story with Saga, but I do think even though she's like a really likable character, really well written, I think the fact that she is more of a like standard protagonist is a little disappointing, but at least we had Alan to fall back on, and I think that was something about the game. I liked the narrative of Alan's story more, but I liked the gameplay of Saga's more.
Okay.
Um, but I did platinum it. However, the game I've been playing a lot is Mafia 2 Definitive Edition.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah, it's free on PlayStation Plus, and it was a game that I don't know when it came out, but whenever it did, I downloaded the demo and I played it a crap ton as a kid. And when did that game come out, actually? Hold on, Mafia 2. That game came out in 2010. So yeah, I was probably like middle school.
14. No, you'd have been
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
late middle
Like
school, early high school.
I played that demo a ton, and I never played, or actually I did rent it once, but now I'm actually playing the game. I'm like, oh yeah, like this game, it's engrossing me. So
Cool.
yeah, it's fun. But what about you? What have you been playing?
Yeah, so since I talked about last week how I 100% in Mario Wonder and I
Mhm.
got my review out for Quantum Error, so I was able to just jump back into Spider-Man 2. So that's been kind of a lot of my gaming time. And I do really like that game. It is uh it's really good. I they do a good job, like I said when I first started talking about it, about balancing the Peter and Miles sections.
Mhm.
It is, it's hard to go from Wonder, which was such this like just great new experience with like a twist on obviously like one of the most like
Mhm.
original oldest games, to then go to
Yeah.
Spider-Man, which is just a refinement.
Mhm.
But it's a great game. It's a Sony first
Yeah.
party game. They do those kind of games types really well.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy it. So I look to be hoping to wrap that up soon. And then on my lunch, I've just been kind of chipping away at Final Fantasy V. um, Now that I'm kind of towards the end of the game, I'm liking it a little bit more. The As you start kind of mastering the jobs, you kind of see what you can do with them, so it's better. But it kind of sucks that you don't really see that till the end of the game. I've got like one more optional dungeon to get a summon, and then I'm
Mhm.
on to the final dungeon. So I'm hoping to wrap that up soon too.
Mhm.
And then the last thing I've kind of been playing is I got an email from Microsoft that my Game Pass is expiring in a month. So
Oh
I'm like, oh
no.
shoot. I mean, and it's fine. I don't use it a whole lot, but I did start Cocoon a while ago, and I
Mhm.
played about half of it, and so I was like, oh, I should probably jump back on Cocoon.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sure Bailey will appreciate that.
yeah, she will. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've just started kind of back up on Cocoon, and I'm blazing through it. I played it today, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh, it'll probably take me a couple of days, and I got to like, because you can actually check the percentage that you are, and I'm at
Oh,
like
that's
80.
cool.
Yeah, I'm at like, which is actually it's really cool because it's like there are some secrets in the game, and the loading is like, so you can go to like resume game or like load
Mhm.
game, and if you load game, each
Mhm.
puzzle they assigned a percentage to. So instead of like loading a previous save, you just load to wherever that puzzle is, and then you can go do whatever you want
Oh.
from that location. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's
that's
super cool.
cool.
So I can see I'm at like 86%.
Cool.
So
Nice.
I'm kind of flying through that. So I'm hoping to beat that. I might just try to wrap it up tonight, depending
Mhm.
on how this goes.
No.
But yeah, playing a lot of good games, and yeah, just looking forward to wrapping those up. Is there any game on the horizon you're kind of looking forward to, or like what do you kind of? Is Mafia 2 going to kind of take up your
Not
time, or?
really. I still have Baldur's Gate. It's a game I've taken a break from for quite a while just because I put so much time into it and it is a slower paced game. And Mafia 2, I feel like is the kind of game I was been wanting to play for quite a while now, just because it's a fun, fast-paced action game. And so, yeah, I don't know how long it is. It was originally like a 360 era, so
It's probably
probably
not
isn't a
super long.
super long. Yeah, which is unfortunate, but yeah, I am very much enjoying the time I have with it.
Good. Oh,
And the
geez,
cool
what
thing
the
is
heck?
I guess,
Oh,
what's that? What's that?
Mafia 2 is about 11 hours, but then this also says
There
it
is
seems like,
DLC.
oh, then maybe it's longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
How long is
So,
Mafia 2? The game has 14 chapters.
hmm so yeah.
Probably around
So
15. Okay. Yeah, so like
yeah,
15 hours.
and plus the DLC, but
Yeah, so
yeah,
maybe 20 or so.
and so yeah, I'm enjoying that though.
Cool. Yeah,
And
I'm once I wrap up I'm debating what I want to be after I wrap up Final Fantasy 5. I kind of want to hold off on 6 cuz I'm a little burnt out since I've been playing through all of them. So I'm debating I may go back to Skyward Sword and try to wrap that up.
hmm
But then I also want to play Persona 4, but I'm like, well, but then remake or 3 reload or whatever is
hmm
early next year and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be burnt out on Persona for that. So
hmm
trying to figure out what to play. But
eh,
that's not a bad problem to have.
no, especially not lately. But that's why you're not buying the Steam Deck yet.
That is 100% why I'm not buying the Steam Deck yet.
Yep.
Um, cool. All right. Well, I think then that about wraps us up.
Yep.
You have to plug something.
Yes. So usually, this is something that's actually really nice, and I'm going to plug this. Um, so I recently got my hair dyed. I don't normally do it, but it was something like a couple years back. Somebody was like, "Oh, you should dye your hair like silver." I was like, "Okay," and I actually liked it. And so lately,
It's
I'm
for
like,
your
"Oh, I should
Silver
do
the
that."
Hedgehog cosplay.
Y- yeah, it is. I mean, the Nagia Cosplay Summit is, I believe, I think it's in like April, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, that's actually a really big deal in Nagoya, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I haven't gone yet, but so I went to a place, did it, and it was nice. I left and I just used normal shampoo, so like it drained, like the color just like went away. And so I went back and I was like, "Hey, so like I did this in the color fade. Do you have like any advice so that like next time I do it, the color will keep?" And they were like, "Oh, well if you want, we can just go ahead and do it again for you for free."
Oh,
And
cool.
so they re-dyed my hair, and the place is called uh Ashu Mieki. Um, it's spelled ASCH, which the Japanese like uh katakana is saying Ashu Meeki. So I recommend it. They yeah, like re-dyed my hair for free, even though I told them like, yeah, it was my fault. I made a mistake. They did again, which was really nice. So
That
yeah,
is
if
nice.
you
Did they
ever, what's that?
Oh, I was gonna ask, did you get like the shampoo you need to like retain the
Yeah,
color and stuff?
so
Okay,
it
cool.
was really cool. I was like, so they're like the big problem is you need because it's like a silver, you need purple shampoo, like purple
Yes, yeah.
dyed
Kim
shampoo.
Kim's done stuff like that before where she's had to
Yeah.
buy purple shampoo.
And of course, my hair is still faded. It's now kind of looking gold just because after you wash it and the hair dye.
Well, I think you're
Um,
also supposed to not wash it for like 48 hours or something.
yeah, I did that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but I've heard other people say it's like 72. The color, it's definitely kept more than it did when I
Oh, cool.
didn't
Okay.
use it. And yeah, so I was like, yeah, I was like, well, what do you recommend? They're like, this shampoo. It was a little pricey, but I was like, you know what, you guys
Yeah,
gave me a
no,
free
it's
haircut, I will.
that stuff
I'll
is
buy
pricey
it.
even if you buy it from like somebody else that is just an expensive shampoo.
Yeah. And then, but the cool thing was they gave me like a hair mask thing that was also purple, and they're like, yeah, use this after. I
Oh,
was like,
cool.
dang, okay, yeah, and that was free, so yeah. So if you want to get your hair colored or you just want a haircut, yeah, go to Ashu Meiki in Nagoya. It's close to Nagoya Station.
Cool. Uh there you go, everybody.
Yep,
All
that's my
right.
plug.
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Um Sorry, 1 sec. I
Yep,
was like
you're
playing the
good.
outro music and it wasn't playing, and I was like, "Why are you not playing?" And it's because
Yeah.
I had the volume turned down.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
I mean, you could finish your thought. There's enough
Okay.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. If audio listeners, if you're not hearing our podcast, you should try turning the volume up.
There you go. Good advice.
Thank you.
So thank you to Pecan Pie on Upbeat for our intro and outro songs. If you liked this podcast, please give us a like, rating, review, follow, all of that stuff so we can grow our audience a little bit more. And if you also liked us, tell people that you are friends with or that you liked us, and maybe we can have them check us out too. You can find other episodes of this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can start from the beginning to see our journey to the top 100 games of all time. Finally, you can find me on Twitch at Smesty. You can also find some of my writing on noobfeed.com. We will see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.